Hey all, Andrea here from Nutrition Matters, and today we're going to be talking about Usnea because my lovely partner who does some part-time arborist work brought me home a full bowl from some trees he had to prune yesterday. And let me just show you because this plant is absolutely beautiful. It's not technically a plant, it is a lichen, and you want to make sure you have the right one, and you can tell because if you take a piece and you break it, which is really hard to do with one hand, and this is sort of dried out overnight, you will see that there is a little white elastic. I don't know if you can quite see that. Let me see. There we go. So you can see the little elastic threads that are in the middle, and that inner cortex is full of polysaccharides that have a lot of immune boosting benefits. But the trick to those guys is that they're heat soluble. So they actually need to be extracted in heat to get those immune stimulating and boosting properties. The other side to this, because we are going to be making a tincture, is that some of the really antiviral and antibacterial, antifungal properties of this amazing plant are only soluble in alcohol, things like the usnic acid that's in there. So when you're making a tincture, you want to have the best of both worlds. So we're going to take this plant and we are going to measure it out. We're going to find out how many grams I've got. I had 83 last night. I have 77 now because it's starting to dry out, but that's okay. That just means less water content. And I'm going to make a 1 to 5 tincture, which means 1 part of the plant to 5 parts of my liquid. Some of that liquid is going to be alcohol, and some of that is going to be the water that I heat the herb in to make a decoction, and that's going to get all those immunostimulating compounds out of the inner cortex. Yeah, let's get started. I'm going to take this bowl right here of all this Usnea. This camera on my iPod here is not the best, but I'm going to take this bowl of Usnea, I'm going to pulverize it into a fine powder, and then I will show you what's next. So this is my Usnea after pulverizing it. It is not easy to powderize this herb, but we do have a whole bunch of powder. And then we've got these inner threads, which I've been chopping with scissors. I'm going to get them a little bit smaller, and then I'm going to get them into this pot and put the water in and get them decocting on very low heat on my stove for 48 hours. And this method is thanks to Stephen Herod Buhner and Ryan Drum, and they are well-known herbalists, especially Stephen Buhner when it comes to antibiotics. And that is essentially what we're making, is an herbal antibiotic right now. So I will get this going and we'll check in again. I measured this again after getting it out of the grinders. I had 75 grams, so I've lost 2 grams inside the machine and in dust. So with 75 grams, that's going to be 375 mils of liquid. I'm obviously not going to heat up the alcohol because it would evaporate. So we will be doing this at 50%, but I know that I'll have, roughly 187 mils of water going in with this Usnea on the stove top. And once I'm finished decocting that, I will add in my alcohol once it has cooled down, and then I'm going to let it sit for at least a moon cycle with my 3 children. It will probably be a lot longer. But yeah, we'll check back in a bit. So medicine making just got a little harder because my toddler has joined me. This is Elijah. What are we making today, Elijah?
Usnea.
Usnea, that's right. So we did some mathematical calculations, and we found out that if we want our 95% alcohol to be diluted to 50%, then we need to multiply or divide 50 by 95 and multiply by 375, which is our total, liquid. Stop it. Stop doing math. Math isn't so exciting for 2-year-olds. Okay, so we need 197 mils of the alcohol. And we need 178 mils of the water. Stop the math. So I put the herb with the water on the stove. So the herb is with the water on the stove. We're going to decoct that for 48 hours. We'll show you what that mushy finished product's going to look like. Then we'll let it cool down. We'll put it in a glass jar. And we will add our alcohol. And then we'll let it sit and it will be done. All right, so this is what it looks like. We've got a thick paste. I had to put it in a double boiler after the first day because it was starting to get too sticky, and the glass pots are notorious for burning when you don't have enough liquid in them. So I've got it in a double boiler right now. It's gonna go for a few more hours at least, and then I will take it off the heat. I'll let it cool down. I will put it in a glass jar, add the alcohol, and we'll let it sit for at least a full moon cycle. And there we have it, guys. Usnea tincture. Make sure whenever you make a tincture that you're labeling the date, what it is, where you harvested it, where the moon was if that's applicable, everything you can, the percentage of alcohol, what the ratio was, you want that on your label because like me, if you don't put a label on and a few months go by, you might not remember what is in that jar if you have rows and rows of other jars around. So yeah, a couple other notes on Usnea. It does readily absorb heavy metals, so don't harvest from any polluted areas and make sure that you're harvesting far enough away from the road. And also, this is really used for gram-positive bacteria. So even resistant gram-positive bacteria, but mostly gram-positive. And I really like to use it in the respiratory tract and sinus infections. You can also when you make the powder, instead of tincturing, you can put that right on topically for any skin infections. And it's not a very systemic herb, so it does work best when you can get it directly on or near the area where you want to treat the infection. So here's our Usnea that's tincturing, and if you're interested in learning more about medicinal plants, how to grow them, how to make them into medicine, check out my website for upcoming classes, and hope to see you there.